Thank you for joining us today on A Certain Sound daily video devotional. We're in the book of Philippians. I want to read a verse to you out of Philippians chapter 1. Let me read it to you. This is what it says. Paul says he's in jail now. And when he's in jail, the people of Philippi, the Philippian people, they're pretty upset about it because they're concerned about Paul. And Paul says, basically, I am thankful. Don't worry about me. He says, I'm confident, he says. In fact, in verse 6 of chapter 1, he says, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it unto the day of Jesus Christ. He's confident for them and himself. But then he says, I have you in my heart. Verse 7. Then he says, I long after you in Jesus Christ. And then he says, I'm praying for you. And then when he gets to verse 12, listen to what he says in verse 12. But I would that you should understand, brethren, that the things that have happened unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel. I find that verse to be very fascinating. Because Paul is saying, basically, don't cry, don't weep for me. He says, because God is using this trial, this jail time, this persecution, this unforeseen circumstance, he is using to get the gospel out farther than ever before. Oh, my friends, if that could be the case with us. In other words, if I could look at my circumstances in that capacity, that he works all events to fulfill his purpose in my life. Don't you dare think that God doesn't care. Don't you dare believe the devil's lie when he tells you that the Lord has forsaken you. I'm here to tell you the opposite. God is with Paul in jail. God is with Paul out of jail, and he's with you too. Don't you ever forget that. And you know what? Paul says, don't cry for me, because what's happened to me, more people are hearing the gospel, more people are being saved, more people are getting bold, more people are waxing confident to actually preach better than they've ever preached before. They are seeing what happened to Paul, and they're saying, hey, if Paul can preach the gospel in jail and I'm not in jail, I can become more bold in my approach, in my preaching and testimony, and so can you, so can you, so can I. But this word furtherance is a powerful word. It's a Greek word. The Greek word furtherance has this idea of a woodcutter. It carries a picture to it, where in those days they would have woodcutters who would go ahead of an army, and they would cut down the trees that separated or was between them and the enemy. And so this group of people would come in, cut the trees down so they could make a path over to the enemy. Kind of like something like the Army Corps of Engineers would go in front of the infantry forces, and they would cut down a trail. They would cut a line through so that the army could advance and attack the enemy. Let me just say it this way, friend. The circumstances and trials of your life are actually what some have termed divine woodcutters, to make a path so that the gospel can get through and reach that person who is sitting in darkness. Aren't you glad? So friend, look at your circumstance in a totally different way. The Bible says all things work together for good to them who love God and are called according to his purpose.
Thank you for watching A Certain Sound Daily Video Devotional. A Certain Sound is a production of Word of Truth Christian Center in Bowling Green, Ohio. For more information or to listen to the 1-hour internet radio program titled Truth Talk, visit us online at www.wordoftruthbg.org. You can also write to us at Word of Truth Christian Center, 1163 Napoleon Road, Bowling Green, Ohio, 43402, or send an email to wotcc@wordoftruthbg.org. When writing, be sure to ask how to get a complimentary CD of a Sunday morning message preached at Word of Truth Christian Center. For Word of Truth Christian Center and A Certain Sound Daily Video Devotional, I'm Sonetta. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow.